Welcome to Fight News Now. I'm John Pollock. On today's show, myself and Robin Black are going to dissect UFC 202. You're also going to hear from some of the winners from the post-fight scrums with the members of the media, and we're going to be taking a look at this coming Saturday's card from Vancouver as the UFC returns to Fox with a dynamite main event involving Carlos Condit and Damian Maia. All that on a packed edition of Fight News Now. Here with Robin Black as we come out of UFC 202 from Saturday night, an incredible main event involving Conor McGregor and Nate Diaz. This time around, it's Conor McGregor getting a majority decision victory and scoring this fight. Robin, did this go the way of Conor McGregor on your card?
Yeah, 1, 2, and 4. Conor won them. There is a lot of debate, and it's just based on emotion. People love Nate Diaz. People love Conor McGregor. People hate Nate Diaz. People hate Conor McGregor. And that's pushing people to have debates about 10-8 rounds and who really won round 2. It's the rules of scoring 1, 2, and 4 were McGregor rounds, and 3 and 5 were Diaz rounds. And you know, I'm sure we'll talk a lot about the winner here, but man, Nate Diaz, Conor McGregor after was in awe of him, and you should be in awe of Nate Diaz. He's an incredible martial artist, an incredible fighter, and Conor knows probably more than anybody because he was standing in there. He knows the power. He's hit guys with this kind of power before, and they've fallen down after 1 or 2 or maybe 3. Diaz was there for 25 minutes, coming on even harder at the end.
There's probably no deeper bond than one involving two guys that make multimillionaires out of one another, as you and I can attest to in our friendship.
Yeah.
Conor McGregor, was this the ideal outcome? Because there would not be any complaints, in my opinion, if a third fight happens, whether it is the next fight with them at 155, whether it's down the road. I think this is a trilogy that can complete itself at a future date. It left a lot of people, the Diaz supporters, believing it could have been a draw. Maybe he could have won it. I, like you, scored it 3-2 for McGregor, but it seems that it's very open and you have a lot of potential options with Conor McGregor and Nate Diaz as well.
Yeah. Man, these guys, they're set. I think Diaz is under the impression that, hey, when we do this a third time, call me. Until then, I'll be, training martial arts and hanging out and doing what I want to do. And good for him, man. He's earned that. This fight was beautiful. And Diaz and his brother, they just want big fights. They don't care about straps and belts and titles. They care about big fights and fights they can get excited about. And this was another pairing. This rematch was a pairing that could get Diaz excited. It played out fascinatingly, the fight itself. In theory, Diaz, because he has the longer reach, wants to be at the outside distance, but Conor actually wanted to be out there. Every single time you're outreached, you have to move your head, make a miss, and come inside and attack. That's a really hard thing to do for 25 minutes. Conor wanted to do that, and you saw in round 1 and 2 how good he was at that. So Diaz changed it up and pushed in tighter. The longer man inside the pocket doesn't always like it, but he loves it in there. He loves the chaos. He loves creating the chaos. It was a beautiful fight.
Did you see any hiccups from Conor McGregor early on? Because certainly Nate Diaz came on stronger at the end of the second and then extended that to his best round, which was the third. But as you kind of outlined, it was those leg kicks early that Conor McGregor easily narrowed in on Nate Diaz as a weakness.
Yeah, and you can't underestimate your opponent ever. And if Conor was thinking, oh, this guy doesn't check leg kicks, well, he got a real awesome reminder that he's wrong and that fighters can change and evolve. There was this idea that analysts introduced 6-7 years ago that the Diaz brothers are heavy on their front leg. That's not a permanent thing. That's not forever. You see Nate will slide back and lift that leg up. He almost broke McGregor's leg with that check. And that was an incredible shift in the fight because after that leg is hurt, he's still throwing it. That's what you got to do. But it's hurt. He can't throw it as much. Change the dynamic a little bit. And then when McGregor got inside close, when he was being roughed up at the end of 2 and in 3, there were moments instead of folding like he did, that experience not only allowed them to change the tactics, but it made him familiar, knowing he's going to be taken there. So when he got taken there, he went to the body and a few big knees to stop that forward momentum of Diaz. But he also cut him up. And in the 4th round, if you go back and you watch, McGregor came on, but Diaz was uncomfortable. He couldn't quite make things go. He couldn't see. Both his eyes were full of blood. Every little detail, every one of these small details all leads to how this fight unfolds, and that's why you can watch it a dozen times and you'll still see something in it.
Are there any set of circumstances where you could see Conor McGregor entertaining the idea of ever fighting at 170 again, or is this a door that has been closed now for the duration of his career?
Well, let's look at it this way. He already fought Nate Diaz and lost, and in that loss, gathered a whole bunch of more information. And with a brilliant coach in John Kavanagh, they made the perfect game plan to deal with this guy and deal with his size advantage and his reach advantage and all of the things that come with fighting up at 170 pounds. And they did it all 100% correct. And it was still that close. You know what I mean? They had every piece of information they needed. They had a Diaz who may have been hurt going in. They had everything executed perfectly, and it was still that close. So that says to me, you can't be going up and fighting at 170 pounds. He hasn't even fought in the UFC yet at 155, and that's his natural weight.
Let's chat about some of the other fights. Anthony Johnson, I don't think you could have a better audition for that next title shot than what he had on Saturday night. 13 seconds, stopping a very tough and aggressive striker in Glover Teixeira. To me, it just makes too much sense to make that light heavyweight title fight, and Anthony Johnson, to me, reignited a lot of interest in this rematch.
Oh, man, and I want to see him fight John Jones. Like, I want to see that fight so bad, but of course there's a million moving parts with Jones, and who knows what he's doing. But, man, that was perfect. I don't know, there wasn't enough time to see what the plan was, because 13 seconds, it was done, and he was trying to take down the ref after. You feel for Glover. But if the plan was to start aggressive and to push him and to put pressure on Anthony Johnson, that plan is not the best plan, because Anthony Johnson, while sliding back, delivers with power so well. He delivers with power from anything. You know, he's always in balance, and I said it today on 5 rounds, and there's no doubt this guy has incredible power, but I think people understate it by just leaning on that so heavy. They understate how incredible and beautiful his technique is.
All right, so much to discuss from UFC 202. I have a feeling some of it may bleed over onto Tuesday's chat, but that is going to do it for us. Be sure to tune in Tuesday night, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. It is episode 2 of the evolution of Punk as he gets set for his debut at UFC 203 next month.